Hi everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Big Little Business Podcast. This week we're joined by Elly from Raven's Nest Spiritual Shop in Chelmsford. Elly, hi, how are you doing?
Hi, good, thanks.
Thanks for coming along. So Elly, tell us about your shop and the kind of things that you sell in your shop.
So we would deem ourselves as a alternative spiritual shop. So it is for people on a slightly different spiritual pathway that is a non-church based religion. So it covers all aspects of a pagan religion, as well as things like crystals and meditation. You have your usual kind of gimmicky things like incense, mugs and anything to sort of add for an aesthetic in your home that is a bit alternative, I suppose.
Sure, okay. So did you get into this and set it up because that's your kind of what you have, not belief in that, because belief I guess is probably wrong, but it's your kind of way of life and that's why you find involved into it?
Yes, I fell into it by accident because I had nothing to do. My friend Nikki owns the business outright, and she set it up towards the end of 2019.
Okay.
Just before that Christmas lockdown that we had.
Yeah.
And then obviously we were open and closed, and I wasn't even at the shop at that point. And she relocated to the Viaducts and had a proper shop front from when she started in the market. But the overheads were just ridiculous, and they were wanting rent increases all the time. Yeah. So it just makes it difficult for a small business to survive. And because she was having trouble with meeting the overhead, she ended up wanting to work full time and try and manage the shop, which is where I came in.
Right.
So she asked me to manage the shop on her behalf because I was self-employed myself anyway at the time. So I could be flexible with the hours and keep the shop and the business running. And just from there, we've ended up becoming business partners. I'm at the shop almost full time now. And it just sort of gives her the space to not worry about it. Yeah. It ticks along quite nicely. Sure. And we've relocated back to Chelmsford Market about 3 months ago. Because again, just overheads.
Within the market.
Yeah, the Chelmsford indoor market. We have a big stall and a gazebo.
Okay.
Just because shop fronts for small businesses, especially independents, are just it's becoming increasingly more difficult to maintain.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. If you're looking to start up a business, it's a good idea to research what areas are affordable on rent, because there's also setting up a get out clause in it, a release date or whatever it is, and agreeing that set rent fee per month. It is expensive, and I think until you look into it, you don't realise just how expensive it can be, and it's a massive overhead.
Yeah, huge, and things like it's not just the rent to consider; it's your Wi-Fi, your electric, your public liability insurance, restocking, staff weight. It all just gets like paying accountants and things to try and help. It just becomes excessive and difficult as a very small business with just sort of two of us running the shop. So we just looked at what our opportunities were to maybe not have a shop front. And the market's brilliant because there's a lot of footfall, there's a lot of people that didn't know we were even a thing that find us by accident and then become regulars.
And I guess with the market as well, it's kind of it's a good little community to kind of help promote and sell each other within that environment, right?
It's wonderful, particularly because they have a really strict rule that no trader can come in that is selling something someone else is.
Sure.
So they really, really work hard to make sure there's no competition. And in that indoor market, there are literally everything you could possibly need, from butchers to greengrocers to bike repair and hats and plants and everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. And everyone looks after each other and supports each other. So you kind of, you feel this real sense of community with the other traders, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, and it doesn't take long, does it, before your name starts getting out and expanding just from that marketplace, but you're getting out and you're attracting people from further afield. You're in Chelmsford, but I'm guessing people coming from Braintree and whatever.
Yeah.
Because the people that come to the market, they walk around, they soon see you and what you're about, and your name and your brand gets out there more so.
Yeah, definitely.
So with with going from having the shop front to the market, do you retain that money that you're not outlaying, or is it just spent differently? Do you think, well, we're not spending X now, do we put that into more marketing and advertising, or what do you do? Do you think about that kind of saving or for a rainy day, or do you plumb it into something else?
We plumb it back into the business.
Yeah.
So things like we've just upgraded our website. So for people that can't come to the shop, for a long time the website was very inactive and just had pretty much a landing page.
Yeah.
Now we have an online store, so you can buy the products. With the shop not being as big, with the market store not being as big as the shop once was, we haven't got as much space to store everything and some of the bigger items. So we set up the website, so we've got a shop front. It can be posted out to your address. You can come and get it from the shop. It's up to you. Just giving people that extra bit of choice, and it's also put back in to pay for stock orders. So we've had some crystals and some of the bigger statement pieces that we wouldn't normally have had before, because we now have the extra income to be able to have that on offer.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised, people ask for really big statement pieces.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you class as a statement piece?
Just like massive chunks of things like amethyst, citrine's very popular, the big geodes, the big natural looking crystals. Right. We also have a huge amethyst cave that we're raffling at the moment. Right. And it's 65 kilos. 65 kilos?
Huge,
yeah.
That's a proper cave.
That is a proper cave. Yeah, it is cool.
Wow. So do you find that you sell, since you set up the online shop, as it were, that it's helped to generate more traffic to your marketplace, or do these people primarily only buy it online and they don't come and see you face to face?
They still prefer to come to the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of, I think, the type of, with crystal buying particularly, the belief system is you have to resonate with that crystal. Mm-hmm. So whatever you're drawn to is for you. A lot of people, particularly with crystals, don't like to buy them online because they want to get a feel, they want to be able to touch them physically, see if they resonate with that particular piece, whatever it is they're drawn to. When you're buying a crystal online, you don't really get a choice. You just get sent what you're sent, and you may not even resonate with it particularly well. Same with the things like the tarot decks. Tarot is a very personal thing. You have to really look at what's on offer and what you're drawn to. The same with the crystals. Yeah, they like to come and touch and feel and pick things up.
I've heard that the tarots and the crystals, they kind of choose you.
100%.
Which sounds peculiar.
Yeah.
But I get that. If you're going to buy something online, I'm the same, but not so much with crystals. If I want to buy clothing or an electrical item, I'd rather go and see what I'm getting first and make sure it does suit what I'm looking for.
Yeah, because it's hard to tell on a picture on a website.
Yeah.
Even though you can look at the dimensions of something and go, okay, well, it's this much, but it's not in your head to actually physically see it is a completely different kettle of fish.
And have I got, with my car, take the 65 kg weight in the back?
yeah, probably not.
Can't get a friend to help me carry it.
No, it's a two-man operation, absolutely. But it is fascinating the different people that are drawn to the shop, and it still to this day baffles me because we predominantly support any pagan religion, and which falls under the umbrella of paganism. Is a very broad spectrum. It just covers any non-church-based religion. That being said, we have regular customers that are actually practicing Christians that are also witches. So you can be both, but it's quite a controversial thing. And I think a lot of Christian-based religions feel guilty coming into the shop. It's quite a common thing.
Oh, really?
A lady came in last week wanting a spell to help her for a protection spell. And she just was so uncomfortable because she was worried about what her church friends would say about her, to know that she'd been in such an establishment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you find there's that stigma attached to it then?
100%, yeah. You do get the youths going past going, look, it's a black magic shop. It's like, oh. And we get a lot of kids, particularly boys, teenage boys, that, have you got any Ouija boards?
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, yes, we do have Ouija boards, but we're
wouldn't
very
mess with them.
no. I have rules before I'll sell a Ouija board. There are like 3 rules. If you can't answer 3 questions, you can't have one.
Go on, what are they?
You have to be 18 because we don't want people's parents coming and shouting at us that we've sold their teenage son a Ouija board.
And they've got a demon in the shed.
Yeah, absolutely. No one wants that. Uninvited guests. You have to be able to tell us the opening and closing rituals, and you also have to tell us how you would protect yourself while using it. And even I'm a little bit hazy on some of those questions.
Yeah, wouldn't have a clue.
But no one has been able to just come out and tell me what they are yet. So far, so good.
You've done Ouija boards, haven't you? Sorry, Charlie's off camera.
I've never touched a Ouija board.
Have you not?
And I won't.
No.
Did you have one?
No. My niece bought one. And yes, and then she was calling me saying, "Oh, I've done a Ouija board. Her boyfriend bought one, and I think something's in the house, and I'm really scared." And I said, "Well, there's not much I can do."
That's a you problem now.
Yeah. Prank caller.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm sorry, I'm not willing to help. I'm not, if there's something bad there, I'm not having that connected to me.
Yeah.
No.
You know, I've worked with crystals for many years. I've been in the spiritualist world for a long time, and I still would never touch a Ouija board.
Yeah, it's too much risk.
It's just too much risk. There is. Like, no, thank you. But just the day-to-day life can be at a risk, without inviting something malicious into your life as well. No, thank you. But I think for Chelmsford particularly, that aesthetic of type of shop works beautifully because it ties in with all of Chelmsford's witch history, which is huge.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about it. We spoke about it before, haven't we? And it fascinates me that there's such a history in Chelmsford about that. So go on, talk to us about.
Well, they used to have witch trials there's actually been 3 bouts of witch trials in Chelmsford dating from the 1600s. Actually, no, the late 1500s, sorry. And the first person in the UK that was ever trialled and murdered, killed for being a witch, was in Chelmsford.
Wow.
So the beginnings of it was there.
Yeah.
The assizes where they held the trials were actually outside where Shire Hall is.
Right.
And the official designated gallows purely for witches was South Primrose Hill. So there's huge history. The first 2 trials then led into the 3rd set, which was Matthew Hopkins. And a lot of people already know about Matthew Hopkins.
I was just going to say, was this the Matthew Hopkins witch trials?
The Matthew Hopkins ones were actually the last, but the most extreme, because there were about 300 people that he put to death, men and women. And
how long ago was that?
That was the late 1600s, mid to late 1600s. And he obviously was renowned he was from Manningtree. And there's a lot of history in both Colchester and Chelmsford regarding Matthew Hopkins. If you look at the numbers of people that were killed for being witches and compare them to Salem, which everyone knows about the Salem witch trials, our numbers are nearly double Salem, because it was very, very extreme. It was believed as well that Queen Elizabeth I had she dabbled in witchcraft, and she had an official magician. I can't remember his name now, though, which is going to...
which is completely different to a Colchester, right?
Yes, completely. He was from Chelmsford. John Dee was his name.
So his name was
John Dee, and he was Queen Elizabeth's official magician, and he lived where Keg School is.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
there is a huge amount of history in Chelmsford about the witch trials. I'm going to be doing some writing about it and setting up an event with a local storyteller called Shane Ibbs, who is fantastic. And he does all the real traditional old folky storytelling, and he's brilliant. And we're going to be running an event together when I get my backside in gear and do the writing and get all the history in chronological order, and so it runs nicely. And then he'll be telling stories, like real stories, based on telling these people's what happened.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's exciting. I just need to get my backside in gear and write the stuff.
We'd be interested, won't we?
Definitely.
You love all that kind of stuff.
I love all of that. Well, I was only in Colchester Castle last Monday.
Yes.
So, because my son loves all of that, Matthew Hopkins, witch trials, but he's 12 and he loves the paranormal. It's really strange. But, so we were only in Colchester Castle last week, and he just loves that whole story, everything about it. which we would love to come to something.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
That if you
Yeah,
want.
when I get it, I was going to try and get it done for Halloween, and it just did not happen that way. And one of Chelmsford's local historians, he runs a walk called the Chilling Tales of Chelmsford, because again, lots of dark history here. And he went, "Oh, you didn't quite get it done for Halloween then." I was like, "No, I'm going to be controversial and do it in some random month like March."
Yeah.
Just to, do it differently.
Yeah, do it a bit different.
Why not?
So when if someone walked into your shop, have you got to the point where you think, oh, they're definitely a witch just by their persona, or is everyone very kind of different? Do you get like a vibe off of people?
I get a vibe off people just purely because I'm an empath. I'm quite sensitive to people's energy. You can usually tell if they're doing it from an aesthetic purpose and it's just their image, or if they practice. And because some of the things we sell are very like spell ingredients and spell jars and stuff like that. So when someone asks you for spell ingredients and spell books that they're a genuinely practicing pagan or witch. The ones that are there like, "Oh, I want to buy this mug that says Boss Witch." And you're like, "Yeah, you're just..."
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was like you when I was 19 too, darling. The goth aesthetic. But you do generally get a vibe, and then you get people that you would absolutely not, because we all do to an extent stereotype people visually, and sometimes you'll get someone who doesn't fit the aesthetic, and they ask for something. And you're like, "Oh, I would not have had you down as that at all."
Yeah, judging a book and cover.
Yeah, absolutely. We all do it, though.
Of course you do.
Like, people do it to me all the time.
What is that?
The shade old ladies give me on the bus now. I've got my great tattoos, yeah.
No, I've had it. I did not expect you to be like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's quite bizarre.
I do it to confuse people. I always say to some of the older ladies, if they do start talking to me, like, "Look, Doris, don't be fooled by my rock and roll exterior. I have a hot chocolate and go to bed at 9:30.
That is true. You do not have a rock and roll lifestyle.
No, not at all.
So just we'll go back to the stocking of the shop. So how easy is it to kind of stock the crystals? How do you source those kind of things? Is there for me, when you go and buy a stock, it's you go to a wholesaler and
it's the same thing really. With some stuff like the incense stick burners and the dragon ornaments and skull ornaments, we have certain known suppliers that are wholesalers that you just place an order with. They send you your stuff, you put it out, you price it, with the crystals, it's a slightly different kettle of fish, because there are a lot of fakes, and there are a lot of companies that just, you order something like the Wish of the crystal industry, where you're expecting this and you do not get anything even close. I say we, because Nikki set this up. She found and sourced this family-run crystal business in, I believe they're in Norfolk.
right.
They're a little family business. They make sure all of their crystals are not only sustainable and ethically sourced. They go and they visit the mines. They make sure that they're genuine. They make sure the working conditions are decent and they're not being treated really badly, the people that are going and mining these, and then they bring them back. So they are a little bit more expensive, but we know that they're the real deal, and that it's very, like, there's love in those crystals. So
sorry, with the mining, because that's just confused me a bit. So these crystals, they're all mined.
Yeah, because most crystals, not all, most crystals are naturally occurring.
Right.
So they are produced by, and this is one of my lines to the Christian community, when they're like, "Oh, but it's weird, it's juju." It's like, well, if you believe God created all natural things, crystals are naturally occurring.
Yeah.
They are grown in the earth in certain conditions and certain heats and minerals and things, and then they create these geodes and these beautiful looking rocks and stuff. Some are man-made. Opalite is one of the ones that I don't gel with, because that's man-made. Everything still has energy. Everything still has energy, whether it's man-made or not, but it's not a naturally occurring crystal. Same with some of the gold stones. They're not naturally occurring. I mean, I wish they were, because they're beautiful and they have glitter in.
I've come across quite a few of them, and I do actually have them, and I keep them separate to my raw, because I know that they're not genuine, they're not grown,
in the earth. They're lab created.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Even some of the naturally occurring crystals they will tamper with. There is a crystal now on the market called Mugglestone, which obviously appeals to all the Harry Potter fans. And it is 3 naturally occurring crystals that have been melded into one special crystal.
Right.
Even though the 3 components are naturally occurring, it's still been tampered with.
Yeah.
It's not grown itself.
Yeah.
But
crikey, I genuinely didn't realise they were mine. I'm looking at you because you've got hundreds of them as well. Yeah, so I just think, it's never even occurred to me to think where they came from.
But it's not really something you talk about on a day-to-day basis, is it? It's not, when somebody asks you, where did you get that from? And you say, I got it from, from a shop.
Yeah.
It's not, I got it from the cave down the road.
Yeah. I mined it myself.
I was there with a pick and a hammer trying to get this up.
Although there's that place in Malden, the Pitcham Putt, there's that, have you ever been there? There's mini golf on Malden Prom, and they've got a little mining thing where you can buy these bags of sand and mine them in this little river. It's very cute, but it's crystals. There's crystals in the bags of sand, and you're like, oh my god, it's so nice.
I didn't even know you could do that.
It's so fun.
Really?
Yeah, bit pirate crazy golf and then mining for crystals.
Yeah. It's a great
day out. It's a good day out.
It's a family day out. Right? For the Pagan family.
Yeah.
You can go and have a day of doing that.
Yeah, we'll do next weekend. So back to the shop then, your shop and what you guys do. We try and give other people that are looking to set up a business and some insights into some of the challenges you've faced. And some of the day-to-day issues and running of the shop. So is there anything you can kind of tell us of what you found difficult, how you've overcome it, and how you get around these things?
I think it depends on the type of business, first of all. Always do your market research and have a look around it if you've got any immediate competitors. I mean, for us at one point, Kelly Orphic was a very similar shop in Molsham Street. They had been there for donkey's years. Unfortunately, they did close down, and we have kind of taken their place. So it's looking at, is there a demand for what you're doing and how you reach the people, like your audience? Because it's knowing your audience for your field, really. Is there a need for it? Is there a call for it in the area you're trying to get into, and what is it that you can offer that's different to your competitors if you have competitors?
I mean, it's fine to have competitors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a healthy competition at the end of the day. So it helps to have a competitor in some respects because it might make you think about how you would do it slightly differently.
It keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
100%. I mean, it's not ever easy, and you will always have ebbs and flows like with any business. But if you know in your heart that there is a need for it and you could do it and you can do it well and you can offer something that's different, then go for it. Yeah,
and I guess as well, I think because with shops, you have to buy stock, right? And that stock won't necessarily go off the shelf within a week. It's got a shelf life. So you're outlaying a chunk of money, and that chunk of money is kind of just sitting there waiting to be sold. So I guess it's knowing what products are going to work, and how to market those products out and make sure that I guess you want the maximum shelf life of X amount of weeks or days or whatever for it to be sold. So I guess it takes a period of time, does it, to work that out?
It does to a point, because some of the bigger ornaments, when I first started working there, I would look at it and think, who on earth is going to pay £50-60 for a massive dragon ornament? But they do.
Yeah.
I would recommend with anything like a product particularly is to tier it. So you have your affordable, lower end products, like for ours it's our consumables like incense and crystals. They're fairly inexpensive, and they just generate constant small trickles of income.
Yeah.
Then you have your mid-range stuff and then your high-end stuff.
Yeah.
And if you have a day where you sell a high-end product, amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But the day-to-day things like incense holders, crystals, any sort of the smaller more affordable items. Because remember, we are in a cost of living crisis.
We are, for sure.
And people are watching their pennies,
Yeah.
but they still want that cute little thing. So I would always tier it, and in any business I've been in, it is the tiering of your low end, mid end, and high end priced products.
Yeah, because those items, the bigger ones, are going to sit there for a long period of time, 100%, right?
Yeah.
Even if you've got your online shop as well, but even with that, again, it's because people want to come in, see it, touch it, feel it, before they might come into the shop, not buy anything, but go away and then order it online for it to be delivered, especially if it weighs 65 kilos. But yeah, it's kind of it's knowing your products right, isn't it? And that takes time, doesn't it? You can't sit up and go, right, I'm going to have all these, and they're going to sell quickly, they're going to be on the shelf longer, because you're probably going to be in for a surprise at some point, and things aren't going to work out how you thought it was going to work out.
Yeah, right? You just, it's impossible to predict. I mean, it certainly helps if you've already got an interest in that field, which I would assume anyone going into a business has a passion for that business. So you already have an idea of what would be popular, what wouldn't be, and then it's just trial and error like anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we've taken a gamble on getting some stuff in, and it's either just flown off the shelf or sits there for ages, and then one day someone will come and buy it.
Yeah. But do you find as well with some of the stuff you sell, it's on vogue, so you go through like a few months of that product selling well, then it kind of falls off the cliff a little bit, and something else will be a good seller.
Trends, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything trends for various reasons. I think also having a good social media content is important to back it up. I've been very slack on the social media side of things just recently, but our Instagram was very uniformed and I used to like lay things out. I've got a little light box, so it's all aesthetically pleasing, but I used to make sure I was trying to post regularly, consistently, and I have been a bit slack on that. But when I was doing it that way, it did show 100%. It showed more people were engaging with our posts, and we were getting people coming in the shop with our Instagram posts saying, I saw this on here, and they would shop from our Instagram posts, which was wonderful. So I really knew I need to get back on that.
Yeah, you do.
It does work.
But it's, really as you say, because, you say you've been a bit slack with it, but it's time consuming, right?
It is. And I have got a chronic illness, which I try to forget about. And it's the whole spoon. I don't know if you've heard of the spoon theory, where you have a certain amount of spoons per day. And if you need to borrow from tomorrow's spoons, well, you're setting yourself up for a bad time. But I try to forget that, because I'm like, no, I'm fit and healthy, I'm fine. So I'll find if I've had a very busy day at the shop, or if I've done more than the hours that I'm supposed to be allocating to it, I then need downtime.
For 3 days.
I used to, in my downtime when I was doing less at the shop, was when I was better at the Instagram, because I had more time to take the nice photos, write the nice scripts, do the hashtags, make it look pretty. And I have dropped the ball with that recently, because I'm doing a lot more hours at the shop. The hours have changed, where before we were open 12 to 6, we're now open 9 till 4. So I'm still adjusting slightly.
God, you have to get up early now as well.
I know, right? It's rude. I think I'm going to be adjusting to that for another 6 months.
I'm with you there on the chronic illness thing.
Yes.
Because I've got multiple chronic illnesses. And then we took on the podcast.
Yes.
So, we work full time, and then we do the podcast. So I'm in that constant state at the moment of exhaustion. And then it's the thought of having to do the social media, and then we've got to do the pictures, and I'm just like, I just want to sleep. It's
trying to find how you make it work without killing yourself off. I've done a 6-day week this week, and I am very, very tired, and I'm back at work tomorrow. So this is my 1 day off. But because I've been at work all week for 6 days, I have been neglecting my home stuff, like hoovering, changing my bed, cleaning the bathroom. So I have.
That's why we're doing an interview here, not yours, right?
Yeah, 100%. There's also less risk of my cat bringing something home. But it does get, like you say, it becomes where you're like, oh, how many spoons have I borrowed from next week? But come Christmas, I've got the shop shut over Christmas, like Christmas Eve, and then we're closed till New Year. and I am just going to lie starfished on my floor and get people to feed me mince pies at random intervals. But it's worth it. I mean, obviously Christmas as well for retail is a very, very busy time.
Yeah.
And particularly being on Chelmsford Market, there are some very interesting individuals that we encounter sometimes.
We've obviously like the social media, and I think we've maybe accounting and bits and pieces. Is that something you consider outsourcing? I mean, there's loads of companies out there that can manage it and do it for you, or is it something you're quite particular about and you want to hold it in?
We do have an accountant, and Nikki is really more in charge of that side of things. I don't tend to get involved, other than I keep an eye on what we're taking on a daily basis. That is the shop, the managing of the day-to-day shop and social medias is more of a me role, and she does all the behind the scenes stuff that means she can still work a full-time job and do all of that as well, and works the every other Saturday in the shop itself. It's
good that there's two of you. I mean, for some individuals that have got like a bit of a side hustle and they want to just kind of go, well, you know, I'm just going to go for it and I'm going to do it all myself, and I'm going to be, you know, I don't care if I've got to work 14, 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
You can only sustain that for a certain amount of time, right?
Yeah.
Before you realise that I just need help with that a little bit, or I need help with that a little bit, you know.
Because that's where you would start dropping balls.
You do, yeah.
And you would not be giving certain parts of the business that need it your all. And unfortunately, it has to be that way.
Yeah.
With the ordering, I do some and Nikki does some. So we split that responsibility, because if we are quiet, the mornings for us tend to be a bit quieter, and then the lunchtime rush picks up. So I can sit and look at my wholesalers on my apps and do orders for my side of things, and then I give her lists for her wholesalers, and we share the load.
Yeah, it's good that there's two of you, but you know, I think being an individual, trying to just crack on with it and get it done.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
It is a lot.
I guess because you say, Liz, you've got the bills to pay, you've got all your social media to do, your stock. If you're a shop, or you're going to be an online shop as well.
Yeah.
It's just continuous, never ending, isn't it?
No, it's not.
And it takes a while. It takes a while, I think, when you start, before you start getting some revenue back.
Yeah.
Because you have this mass outlay potentially.
Yeah.
And you might be looking at 6 to 8 months, maybe 18 months before
you start
balancing out a little bit, and then all those sleepless nights for 18 months, thinking, crikey, we've got bills to pay, and I still haven't done this, I haven't done that, I need to get this done, and it's a minefield, isn't it?
It is a minefield. It is but if you know in your heart of hearts that it's worth it, that's what keeps you driven and keeps you going.
Yeah.
Because you know in there that your gut feeling tells you it's worth doing.
Yeah.
And when it does start to build that momentum, you then start reaping the benefits from it, and you're like, oh, okay, all my hard work was worth it.
So before we wrap this up, we always ask someone what's the one giveaway thing, if they could tell someone who's looking to start their own business, would that be yours, and just go for it?
I am a bit more cautious than just go for it, because I'm sensible.
Yeah.
I would definitely...
Obviously, by your demeanour.
Book
and cover, I know.
I'm not sensible exterior, but in here I can be sensible. Erratic, but sensible.
That's a contradiction.
I know. I like to keep people on their toes.
Yeah.
I would always be a little bit cautious and always have a backup plan, just in case, especially for when you're starting up. Have you got another source of income that you can, just in case you have a bad month, it doesn't go the way? And again, with startups particularly, that's the hardest part. So I would probably, maybe not with a shop front as such, but any other business, is test the waters a bit first and do it alongside, which initially is exhausting because you've got to put a lot of extra hours in. More than just the 10 balls you've got in one project, you've got your daily job as well, I guess. It's just to kind of safeguard yourself, because if you suddenly were like, if you were working a full-time job and one day woke up and just thought, sod it, I'm going to jack it all in and join the circus, it's a risky thing to do. Unless you've got collateral behind you as a safety net. I would recommend having a decent amount in savings if you were going to take that plunge, or just do it and drip feed it a bit to start with to test the waters, see if you think it's going to be something.
And maybe
good.
I guess work for 6 months to a year of just dipping into it. What can it do? Testing the water with it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean consistency with anything is key.
Yeah.
So it is, if you're going to dip into it, you do need to do it consistently.
Yeah.
So.
Perfect, brilliant. Well, thanks, Elly. Before we do finally wrap this up, do you want to let everyone know your website, socials, and where exactly you are in the market?
So in the market, there's a haberdashery and a bike repair shop where the flower stall is. Yeah. We are just there.
Okay.
And our socials are Raven's Nest Chelmsford. So if you just Google us, also the website comes up on Google. I believe it's ravensnest.co.uk. But there are links to it on our socials. We have Facebook and Instagram. So, Raven's Nest Chelmsford.
Perfect.
And you will find us.
Lovely. Thanks, Elly. It's been great talking to you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.